Hello, I'm Mark Hall, the founder of Revalue.io. We're a local company that prepares buildings for the transition to clean energy by making them more affordable and removing home health hazards. Today, you're going to see 3 different homes that we have worked with to remove home health hazards and electrify them to make them healthier and more efficient. There are 4 easy steps that each one of these homes have followed, and we'll take you through those a little bit later. The first step is an energy assessment. A licensed professional comes by and conducts an energy assessment on your home. It takes about 1 to 2 hours. In step 2, we provide a set of recommendations to improve indoor health, comfort, and reduce energy costs. Our recommendations come with no upfront cost financing options and rebates that eliminate the upfront cost. In step 3, our vetted local contractors prep your home for electrification by insulating it, sealing all the leaks that make it drafty, and attending to any other repairs that need to happen first, like roofing. In the final step, the contractors replace your old gas equipment with high-efficiency heat pumps that both heat and cool. Then we add solar panels and storage batteries that discharge solar energy when the sun isn't shining. Your house is now ready for a comfortable, clean energy future.
Wow, it's been about 3 years that I've owned this house, and I could just remember like it was yesterday when I closed on this house. My wife and I, we have been looking for like 5 or 6 years for a home, and finally our dreams came true. And it was not only a home for us, but one more for another family. This house, when I look up county record, it was built in 1896, and really older home. But when I opened up the walls, everything looked like new. I knew I had a project on my hands, but I was more excited about it than I was nervous. So at some point, I crossed paths with Mark Hall and Revalue.io, and it was a tremendous burden lifted off my shoulders. So when I first bought this house, I worked in workforce development, and to some degree I still do today. But while, in the trenches, kind of meeting people and shaking hands and building relationships, I met Mark, the CEO of Revalue.io. And as I kind of talked about my new home purchase, he got more and more interested in about my long-term goals with the property. And, fast forward a year from that point, well, not even a year, he had me fast-tracked on a plan to get my home updated and modernized. I really, my motivations were to not only house my own family, but to help house other families. And in the future, I plan to kind of promote this multifamily mentality of housing each other, not just for ourselves, but for our extended community. So I hope that we can spread the gospel of Revalue.io and what they do with Block Power and other entities, so we can have other folks remove barriers to entries to spaces like this. Thank you for coming to my home. Welcome. Come on in. I do have to caution you, we are a construction zone, so be careful walking through. We're getting some remodeling done. I got a new family coming in, great family. They're going to be coming in about the next week, so we're trying to get it prepared enough for them to transition in. So come on in. So, interesting story. So this, as you can see, the heating system right there, it was a furnace in my laundry room, but with the help of Revalue.io, we were able to upgrade the kit. So if you can see right there, there's our heat pump system, our split system. The cool gets cool. So when it's on AC mode, it gets really cool and nice in the summers. Got a chance to experience that last summer. And then when it gets cold at night, you can heat it up. So it's a good look. In this house, we upgraded quite a few things. I just want to kind of reflect a little bit on what it was like before we got the upgrades. Before, it was like when it was drafty, it was cold in here because there's a huge attic upstairs. The walls, like every other bay, had insulation in it. But through the help of Revalue.io, we were able to get some really high-rated insulation put in. So in the attic, and then at one point in time, there were little holes. They drilled some holes in the walls, and wherever they were able to detect that there was no insulation, they would just pump it in with this machine. It was actually pretty impressive and interesting. But if you can see, like I said, this house was built in 1896, so you can imagine how old the wiring was. It was like external wiring. Actually, if you look up there, it was like a hanging external fixture, and so that wasn't safe, and it wasn't modern enough for today's times, right? So what we did was, through the help of Revalue.io, got some recessed lights put in. As you can see, really just lights up the place, and Revalue was very flexible, very open to new ideas. When I had, design ideas, it was really fluid. So I can't thank them enough. As you can imagine, with many different people in your household with varying body temperatures and comfortability levels, temperature can be a big deal. Now, if you look, every single room has one of these heat pumps. And so you're able to control the temperature with this controller right here. So each room has one of these controllers. So at any time you get cold, or if you get too hot, you can go ahead and set the temperature, set the thermostat to your liking. One thing you'll probably notice if you look at the front of my house and you're comparing that to the back of my house is that the front of my house is pink and the back of my house is blue. Actually, long story short, we found out that my house, since it was built so long ago, the original paint that was used might be lead based. So we went ahead and started the process of just eliminating the lead based paint and just painted it all blue. So eventually the house will be completely blue, no more pink. But to tack on to that, you see this mighty split system right here, strategically placed here, so it's not in the way. It's not an obstruction and not a hazard. And this hooks up, and actually Revalue help do this. It's hooked up all the way from the back of the house to the front of the house. So it's not too much of an eyesore. Doesn't bring too much attention to it. But above all, we stay cool and we stay hot. One of the biggest expenses that I was not looking forward to incurring was the cost of splitting my 2 units utilities. And so after talking with Mark and kind of picking his creative mind, he came up with the solution like, hey, why don't we do this through our program? And so, long story short, we were able to split the 2 units, 3223 and 3221 Helen. And not only that, we got the bonus of this beautiful looking span panel, which is just fantastic. There's an app associated with it to control, if you want to control outlets and you want to monitor your output. All that sophistication is built in this span panel. So yeah, special shout out to Mark and his team. Very professional, very beautifully done. I'm very happy.
All right, my name is Vince Gibbs. I'm here in the northern Oakland, Emeryville, Berkeley border. I've been here for about 5 years. The house that we live in was previously my wife's family's house. We purchased it when her parents passed. Okay, we noticed that the house was drafty and would not retain heat. So that was one of the things that we wished to update, improve. And the other thing was that the heater did not really keep the house warm. It was always going, and it was probably a low efficiency heater. With regard to this house, one of the things that's important for me was that we set a baseline. You can't really improve performance if you don't know where you are. So one of the first things we did was get an energy audit. That's a part of this process. Once we got the energy audit, we realized that the house was leaking because there were various seams, and there was no insulation in between the walls. So the first thing we did after the audit was insulate the walls. Basically, it included putting holes in the wall and pumping in insulation. I noticed right away that changed the quality of the the space inside the house. I joked with Mark about one day it was so nice in the house that I walked out with the short sleeve shirt and the straw hat on, only to realize that it was not warm outside. So that was my first indication that the process was working. Next, add to that, after insulating the walls, the next thing we did was installed mini split systems. And what appealed to me about the mini split systems is an individual unit in each room, which included air conditioning, which here in the Bay Area we don't need very much, and I don't think I've used it at all. So the overall end result here was A, a more comfortable house, B, we reduced our energy by at least 10%. I haven't done the calculations recently during the winter months, but it was noticeable on our bill. And the next iteration of this is to add solar to the roof, which is already in process. All right. Here is my mini split unit for my office area. So I get to control the temperature in here independent of the rest of the house, which I particularly like. So yeah, and it's very comfortable for me. So one of the parts of, I guess the last part of this project was to get solar on the roof. And before we could actually get the solar on the roof, we had to make repairs to the roof because it hadn't been upgraded or maintenanced in quite some time. So what Revalue was able to do for me was to wrap the roof repair, which was actually a new roof surface, into the cost of the entire project, which includes the solar. So overall, we end up with a more efficient house on the inside, a repaired roof on the outside, and eventually, which will be the last part of the project, will be solar, which will significantly reduce our electrical bill. So I think it's important to also mention that, my commitment to get this done was partly trying to reduce my energy costs, but more importantly, doing my part to reduce the carbon footprint. I've been in the solar development business for well over a decade now, and it's time to practice what you preach. And I have this home that I would like to also put solar on. So, through Revalue and Mark's company, we've gotten an opportunity to do that in a cost-effective manner that, let's just say, didn't break the bank coming out of the gate. So I'm really pleased about that and pleased about what Revalue has done to help us make that happen.